he was doing, and my mom and my mom got hey guys, it's April, and I'm going to be talking about a really sensitive subject that I went through during my 2 years of high school, my last 2 years of high school, and I didn't really want to talk about this because I didn't want to bring attention to it, and I was really scared, and I felt like if I started talking about it again, it would happen again, and I didn't really want that to happen because it was like a really terrible experience for me. It was really scary, and out of all people, I didn't think I would be experiencing having a stalker. I lived in Los Angeles for my entire life, and I came from LA to Las Vegas, and I was dreading the entire time of moving over here. So the first day I started high school was the day I had my first encounter with him. So I ended up going to school with this guy, and I go into my first class, and he was there, and the way, I'm not going to say his name, I don't know what to call him, we'll just call him like Greg or whatever. He was chubby and he was really, really tall. So as I walk into the class, I think he's the teacher, and he's sitting in the teacher's desk, and he's sitting in the chair or whatever, and I come up to him, and I kind of like talk to him. I give him my class schedule, and he doesn't say he's not a teacher. He doesn't clarify it. So to me, he looks like a grown-ass fucking man. So I end up finding out a little bit later that that wasn't the teacher, and my teacher was actually across the hall talking to another teacher. As I kind of started talking to him, he was trying to get pity from him. He was just kind of like, oh my god, I don't have any friends in this school, like everybody doesn't like hanging out with me, oh my god, I have like no friends at lunch and this and that. And I was so close to asking him like, hey, do you want to come have lunch with me and my friends? But I didn't, and I honestly don't know how bad it would have gotten if I would have invited him. My teacher would tell him like, oh, you need to leave, like this isn't your class, and he would be like, oh no, I have a pass from my teacher. So my teacher was really lenient about it, but it was like every day. He stopped going to his class every single day just to come to my class and start talking to me. Months passed by, I developed this crush on this guy in my class, and I was like, oh my god, I was fucking awkward as fuck, and I didn't know how to talk to guys. Greg came to our group and was like, hey, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, oh, April has a crush. And immediately his face just fucking changed. It just went blank as fuck. And he was just like, oh, really, who? And I was like, oh, it's that guy. And I pointed, and he was just like, oh my god, he's my homie, like I walk home with him, or sometimes we take the bus together. Like, he was saying they were really, really close. And he told me that he would end up talking to me like about my crush and how things were gonna get basically like played out and stuff. So I was like really happy about it. Every single day he would come to the library and he'd be like, oh, I talked to him for you, or like he talks about you sometimes and he wants your number. And I'd be like, fuck, like, oh my god, like he's fucking helping me the fuck out. I end up getting the courage one day to go up to him and be like, hey, like Greg has been telling me all these things about you. And he just looked at me and he's like, who's that? Like, who's Greg? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, he said you guys were like fucking close. He was like, I don't know anyone by that name. And I was like, okay, like, I don't feel stupid at all. And, he ended up telling me like, wait, what do you mean? So I ended up telling him like I had a crush on him, and just like, okay, cool, whatever. So I was really mad because I felt really lied to, like, about the whole thing. So he comes into like the library, and I tell him, like, what the fuck? Like, you're fucking lying to me about that? Like, why? And he's like, no, that's how me and him play. Like, he's dumb. Like, don't worry about it. And I was like, no, like, you're fucking lying to me. So he ends up telling me, like, you know what? I lied about being friends with him because I wanted to talk to you. And I told him, like, you didn't have to lie about things like that just so you can be friends with me. And he was like, no, I felt like I had to, like, he made up this big ass lie or whatever. Once I stopped like bringing up the crush that I had, I noticed he would still come to the library a lot, and it was to the point that he was not going to his classes anymore. Even the librarian would tell him like, you need to get the fuck out of here, like you're not going to class, like how are you still passing? And he was like, no, like my teachers lets me, like I have a pass. And my librarian was like, let me see your pass. The same thing that happened with my other teacher, and he didn't have a pass, so he ended up having to go back to his class. But my librarian was like, April, I think he likes you. And I was like, because like I already had bad history with him being really touchy and him lying to me. And he came to the class, he came to the library, and he started telling me, because I really, really like Johnny Cash, and he was telling me that he's met Johnny Cash. And I was like, when did you meet him? And he was like, yeah, you know, like I fucking saw him on the strip, and I have a picture with him. And I was like, you do realize like Johnny Cash passed like a long time ago. And he was like, so you're calling me a liar? And I was like, no, I'm not calling you a liar, I'm just saying maybe you met like an impersonator or something. He's like, no, I met the real Johnny Cash. And I was like, are you fucking stupid? Like, he died a long time ago. Like, are you dumb? And I was just like, okay. I was like, yeah, you met him. He was like, do you want to have the picture, like, of me and him? And I was like, no, like, I don't want your photo. So I ended up going home, and he's like following me as I'm walking out of school, and he's like, let me walk you home, let me take you out, April, like let me show you, like all, like let me date you, basically. He's like asking me on a date. And I was like, no, like I wasn't being a bitch about it, and I was just like, no, it's okay, like thank you, but no thank you. And he was getting very angry, and he ends up getting mad, and he walks away. And I walk home, and as I walk home, the minute I walk in, I look at my phone, and I see that I have a request on Instagram, and it says Greg, and then it says his ad name. And I was like, it better not be like what the fuck. And I end up looking, and it's him. And I was just like, okay, like he was already just really creepy. He ends up DMing me and telling me that he knows where I live, and he ends up telling me that he knows where I live, and that he has my phone number, and that he was gonna come pick me up, and basically like forcing himself onto me. And I was like, no, that's really weird, like don't do that. And I kept telling him like, don't. And he was like, yeah. He's like, trust me, like I know where you live. And he told me like my street name, and he told me the color of my house, and like the color of my mom's car. And it was just really weird to think that he followed me home, basically. I told him like, hey, what you're doing is not cool. And he's like, oh my god, it was just a fucking joke. And you're like, take a joke. And it's like, it's not a joke if you were able to name all the colors of my mom's car, or the house, or the tree that's in front, or whatever. Like, you know, like little shit like that. He was able to say stuff, and he would overhear that I was like talking to a guy, or if a guy called me pretty, he would get mad, and he would like go talk shit to them and be like, don't fucking call her pretty. He was telling people in school that I was his girlfriend, and that we were dating, and that I met his family and all this shit. And I was just like, no, like this is not, no, like I'm not playing that. So he ends up coming to class one day, and he tells me, April, like when are you gonna let me take you out? And I was like, I'm not, like I'm sorry, like I don't see you in that way. And he ends up telling me like, you know what, if you don't let me take you out, I'm gonna buy 2 plane tickets, and I'm gonna cut up your body into pieces, and I'm gonna put it in a suitcase, and I'm gonna take you with me. And right there I was just like, what the fuck? Like, and I just looked at him, and I was so like I didn't even know how to explain it, but I was just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, who in their right mind says shit like that? And I told him like, you know what, like you need to stop talking to me. I just straight up told him right then and there. I told him, you need to stop talking to me. And he got really upset, and he ended up following me home sometimes. And it was to the point that he would follow me to class, and like he was always near me, and he was always like trying to skip his class to be in my class, and he was always following me home. So then one day I'm walking home, and I didn't see him at all that day. Like, I guess he didn't go to school, he didn't go to my classes, he didn't go to the library, nothing. And I end up going home, and I get a text, and he like texted me something like, oh, you look very pretty today, or some shit like that. And I just remember feeling so scared, because he knew where I live already, and he was already threatening me with little things like, I will kill you if you end up dating someone, or I will like cut you up into little pieces if you start dating someone, or I will take you out, and if you say no, I'm gonna cut you up, or whatever. Like, it was just little stuff like that, and it was really, really scary. So I ended up not going to school for a little bit, because I was just so scared, because it's like, if at least in my home I'm not alone. and I had like my family with me, and at least I wasn't alone, and I didn't feel as scared, but I was scared because it's like, if he comes to my house, then my family's here and I'm putting them in danger. So I stopped going to school for like a really, really long time, and he would always text me like, where are you? Do I need to come get you? Or like, it was just really, really scary. And I remember sometimes like a certain car would be like circling around like my neighborhood, and I to this day I don't know if it was him, but it was that specific car at a specific time, and it was always just like roaming around my house, and it was just really, really scary. So I ended up going back to school, and my librarian's like, April, where have you been? Like, you haven't been to school for like 2 weeks. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, your grades are gonna get so bad. And I was like, yeah. So I ended up telling her what was going on. She would tell me like, we have to do something about it, and I didn't want to, because I didn't want to like make it bad, because like I made him angry just by saying no to dates. I can just imagine how mad I would get if I told the principal, or if I told my parents. And I ended up going to school again, and like, I ended up telling my principal, and he was like, there's not enough evidence of what he's doing. Like, every time something like that happens, document it. And it was kind of like, okay. I told my librarian what my school ended up, like what my principal ended up saying, and she actually got really upset. So what she did was she started hiding me. So in the library, it was the library, and then it was an office, and then there was like a small office in the back of her office, and she would basically hide me there for like more than half the class, because he was always coming to that class, and he would be like, where's April? I saw her earlier. Where is she? And my teacher would be like, you need to leave, like, you need to go. And he was like, no, like, I have a pass. And he would have a pass to be in the library, and he would be like, you can't kick me out, like, I'm doing homework, but I just want to see April. And it was really scary, because that went on for like a few months, maybe to the like, that was going on in December, and it went on for a really, really long time. And he would tell my teacher that she knew she was like hiding me, and he would threaten her and be like, if you hide her from me, like we're meant to be together. I was really scared, and I ended up like keeping to myself a lot during summer, because I was really scared of bumping into him, or him like, like, he was just like so weird. So I ended up finishing my school, summer came, and then my senior year came. So all my friends knew about Greg. So they all knew about him, and so at one point, it was my senior year, and it was my first day, and I was like fucking happy. I was like, this is my last fucking year, finally. All my classes except 2, Greg is in them. And I remember my first class just seeing him, and my heart dropped, and I was like, fuck, like, this is scary. Like, I was just like, fuck. So I kept my head down, and he comes up to me, and he's just like, hey, like, fuck, we're gonna be in class together, like, fuck yeah, like, oh my god, like, we're gonna be my partner for everything. I'm gonna, like, when we have projects, I'm gonna be going to your house. And he's like, not that I don't know where you live. And he would like take it as a joke. At this point, I was so angry already, and I told him like, you need to leave me the fuck alone. And he was like, why? And I would tell him like, I don't like you in that way, and you're really like, you're forcing yourself onto me, and it's not cool, like, and I tried being really cool about it. Like, I wasn't trying to be like a bitch about it, like, fuck you, like, I know I'm fucking beautiful, and I know you're obsessed with me, but leave me the fuck alone. Like, I wasn't a bitch about it, but I was kind of like, I put my foot down, and that triggered the fuck out of him. And he would follow me home every single day, and he would like write me these little things like, you will be mine, or like, I will be yours, or like, you're gonna be mine one day, and you're gonna like, we're gonna get married, and we're gonna do all this stuff. And it was just like really, really fucking weird. So I ended up talking to my counselor, and I was like, hey, like, can I change my classes, because like, I don't feel safe. And she was just like, what do you mean? And I have filed a report already on this kid, and they were like, oh yeah, Greg has a lot of reports on him being like really, really weird, like really, really touchy. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, it just like, it was fucking scary. And I was just like, really? And she's like, yeah, like, he's really aggressive. She's like, so don't provoke him, don't make him mad, don't do anything. And I was just like, oh my god, like I told him to fuck off a few days ago, like is he gonna fucking kill me? And he ended up like sniffing me in the hallways, and he would like sniff me, and he would like bump into me and like take a big ass fucking whiff of what I smell like. And like, why me? Like, out of everyone, why me? And he ended up like, he would like go to my job, and he would like be in my neighborhood, and he was just following me. So yeah, there's no evidence into what you're doing, like what he's doing, and you know, we can't do anything about it. The only thing we can do is switch her classes and give her a different lunch, because there was 2 lunches. So I ended up having to take online classes for a little bit because I just didn't want to be at school anymore. And I was a student aide for the library, and it was to the point that I had to have a male with me at all times, and I would have to go to the restroom, and he would have to wait outside for me. Just the campus security with me all the times, and I would be eating with my friends, and the campus monitor would be right behind me making sure I was fine. And you know, it was just really, really sad. And I thought that after I graduated it would stop, but it didn't. Every time I was at work, he was always there. And I just remember always having anxiety and just feeling like I was always being watched. And it was the nastiest feeling ever. And it went on for 2 years, and it barely stopped. And, you know, I would get texts, and I would get random messages on Instagram telling me, like, I see you, and, like, I will find you, or, you know, like, you're going to be mine, or, you know, your body's going to look great being dismembered. Like, it was just so fucking demented. And this kid was really, really demented. And it's like, I felt so vulnerable, and it was the nastiest feeling ever, because it's like, I never want anyone to feel like that. And you know, maybe my story isn't as bad as other people, where like the stalkers actually come inside their home and like, you know, like fuck up their shit, or they do all these things to them. And you know, luckily mine was just a kid from school who followed me home. And you know, like I thought, you know, moving to Vegas would be like a good thing. And the first thing that happened to me when I moved to Vegas was I encountered my fucking stalker. And it was, you know, it was just really scary. And it's sad to think that I never would have thought that I would be the one to have a story like that. And at the time, I was dating this guy, but like he was really abusive, and I would tell him about these things, and he would just kind of be like, well, what are you doing to provoke him? And he would get mad at me for what he was doing to me, what Greg would be doing to him. And I didn't want to be in the same place as him. I didn't even want to breathe the same air as him. I was so petrified from this guy and what he was doing to me. And like teachers knew about it, because I was telling my teachers like, hey, you know, like I'm not coming to school for this reason. And they would be like, oh yeah, like we know who Greg is. Like, yeah, that's Greg. Yeah. And it's like, that shouldn't be okay. I was telling everyone, and it was just like, well, what do you expect? You're a girl and he's a guy, and you're pretty, and you're provoking him, and sorry, you know, you caught his attention. Like, that's not okay. And I think that's why I really wanted to speak out about this, because, you know, I might not be the only one with a story like that from a kid with school. And I know mine isn't as drastic or whatever, but it's still scary, and it's still sad to go with shit like this, because it's like, it barely stopped. So I'm really glad it even stopped. So it's like, I felt like my life was revolving around this one situation. And that is the nastiest feeling ever, because I feel like now I actually get to live my life how I want to. And I know it's barely starting, but it's like, you know, I thought Vegas would be like, oh my god, it's gonna be like this good ass experience. I'm in a new state, new friends, I can start fresh. And it's like, I ended up being in this abusive ass relationship and having a stalker, and you know, getting so much anxiety. My hair was falling out, and I was like, it was just so fucking annoying, and it was really sad. And it's a chapter in my life that built a lot of character for me. So in a way, I'm kind of glad it happened, because I ended up growing a lot from that situation. And I know, you know, if it starts happening again, then I know what to do. So it's like, I don't know, this was a story that, it was like a small story that I felt like I wanted to talk about, because not a lot of people know this, and it was just really scary to even experience it and to actually be alive and all of this stuff, because I really don't know how far he would have gotten or how far he would go just so, you know, he could be my boyfriend or, you know, do things that I thought he would do to me. Like, I honestly thought he would harm me in more ways than I thought he would be able to. I really hope this video doesn't make it start again, because I just got over that fear. That was my small story on how I had a stalker for a really, really long time. And, you know, I just really hope that there's not a lot of girls out there that have similar stories to mine, or that their stories are more drastic, and or some that didn't even get to make it out alive because people are so fucking demented and they need evidence for all this bullshit when, you know, you think your life is in danger. It's the most scariest thing in the entire world. Don't trust everybody. You know, not everyone has the same heart as you, or they have the same, like, intentions as you, and that's what, you know, that's really scary. I just really hope you guys like the video, you know. Or I have a lot of stories that make weird ass story time videos. So if you guys want to see videos like that, just give this video a like and just let me know down in the comments below if you guys think I'm a fucking bullshit ass liar, just like my principal thought I was, or if you guys have similar stories to mine. Like, I would really like to hear, like, stuff like that. So yeah, thank you for watching and hearing me ramble on for God knows how long.